Hey, it's Mark LaCour. Ready to learn about the oil and gas industry? Today we're going to learn that even though you may be buying Chevron gas, Chevron may not have had much to do with it. Welcome to our overview of the oil and gas vertical. You know, most people think they know the oil and gas industry, but they really don't. So we're going to see if we can give you some useful information and clear up some common misconceptions. So most people think of companies like ExxonMobil and just assume they get oil out of the ground somewhere in the world, ship that crude in ExxonMobil pipelines to an ExxonMobil refinery, sell it in an ExxonMobil gas station. But guess what? That is absolutely wrong. That is not how this industry works. This is how it works. The industry is composed of four main segments: upstream, midstream, downstream, and service. Upstream is actually getting the crude out of the ground. You'll often hear it called E&P, or exploration and production. This is upstream. This is upstream. This is upstream. This is actually an FPSO. The next segment is midstream. Midstream is basically moving that crude oil and natural gas. So midstream stuff such as pipelines, super tankers, rail cars. Then we move to downstream. Downstream is actually the refining, manufacturing, and selling of the products from crude oil and natural gas. So downstream is things such as refineries, retail lube stations, fertilizer, which is a big product of petrochemical refining, lubricants, motor oils, retail gas stations, and plastics, which is another large product of crude oil. Then we move to the service companies. Service are companies that actually provide manpower and help and services to oil and gas industry, but they don't produce any petroleum or petroleum products themselves. So you have everything from the guys that are out there designing the rigs, to the crew boats that move men and equipment back and forth, to the actual roughnecks that do the drilling, to the manufacturing of drill stem, and things like subsea installations. Every bit of this is service. Then you'll also hear the word super major or combined. What is that? That are companies that do everything: upstream, midstream, downstream, and some service. And right now in 2013, there's only 5 of them. This is it. These are the 5 super majors. So what does that mean? We're going to talk you through, literally from cradle to grave, a drop of crude oil to the point where it gets into the gas tank of your car. So the U.S. government auctions off a block of land to the highest bidder. After checking my last auction facts in the Gulf of Mexico, $2 billion somebody paid for the rights to drill on a piece of land for 10 years. That's it. Think about that for a second. You write a check for $2 billion to have 10 years to make that money back and hopefully some profit, but there's no guarantees. So in this case, it was BP who spent that $2 million for a deep Gulf of Mexico lease. BP then needs to drill, right? BP does not have its own drill rigs. BP contracts a drill rig, basically rents it from companies such as Transocean. Now that drill rig needs to be staffed by people. So you have companies such as Halliburton and Baker Hughes that actually come out and help them operate that drill rig. That crude that gets produced on that drill rig needs to be transported. Guess what? BP puts out to open bid to all the different industries and all the different midstream companies in the world who will move this crude oil at the best price. In this case, it was a super tanker, and the bid was won by Chevron. So Chevron has that crude oil in its super tanker, and it's in transport to a refinery, but halfway there, ConocoPhillips on their trading floor buys that crude and then turns around and sells it for a few cents profit per barrel. And it was sold to a Shell refinery, who then refines that fuel at a profit, ships it in a Kinder Morgan pipeline to a 76 gas station that is owned by who? No, not 76. It's owned by one of your neighbors, which is called a jobber. So there you go. There it is, from literally getting out of the ground and to being burn in your gas tank as a fuel. And you look at how many different people are involved and how many different layers of profit are involved. And this is a very complex industry. So hopefully this helps you understand, at least at a high level, what goes on in the oil and gas industry.